episode of Fox Sports Lab NRL. Round 23 is upon us. Josh Morris, we are seriously at the pointy end of the season.
Yes, we certainly are, and we've seen a number of teams vie out of the finals race. The Broncos this week in what has been a pretty disappointing season for them, and then we saw the upset probably of the season with the Dragons winning down in Melbourne to keep their finals hopes alive. So, some good games this weekend that matter a lot to a few teams.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's kick it all off. Thursday night footy. Rabbitohs taking on the Storm. Rabbitohs $4.85. Storm $1.18. Obviously, they're sitting at the top of the ladder. Now, the Rabbitohs have lost all 5 games against top 4 sides in 2024. Can they change it this week?
No, I don't think so. And I think the fact that the Storm have had a loss, they've probably been looking like they're going to have a loss the past couple of weeks. I think against the Eels, they were pretty lucky to get away with a win there. And then the Dragons went down there and got the win. So both teams are coming off the back of losses, obviously. But South, they just keep losing players. So Cody Walker is a big in for them. I think they struggled with attack on the weekend. The Sharks gave them a lot of chances to score, but they needed someone like Cody in their side, and the result could have been different. Michael Cheekham comes into the back row for Jacob Host, who's out. Shaq Mitchell is back in, and Marmazelis is on the bench there. So for the Storm, Kamakamika comes into the front row. Nelson Osofa Solomona is in the back row. Can you believe it? I would be out there. And Chris Willis comes back onto the bench. Look, South, I kind of feel a little bit sorry for them. They're just so down on troops. Jai Gray has been a shining light for them at fullback. I thought he's been outstanding, and he was their best player over the weekend. But I think the Storm are going to bounce back here, and they'll bounce back with a big win.
Yeah, certainly Craig Bellamy's side coming off the loss. You can anticipate that they would be up for this one. The other game, of course, kicks off Friday night. It's the Sharks. It's the Sharks and the Titans at home at Seabus Stadium for the Titans. So Titans $1.56, Sharks $2.38. The Sharks have won 9 out of 10 against the Titans, so they've got the record here. But Titans at home, Seabus Stadium. How do you see this one playing out?
Yeah, look, I really like what the Titans are doing at the moment. I think the Sharkies, whilst they had their win over the South, their start was horrendous again. Their completion rate was very low. Their discipline, they gave away a lot of penalties. And if they do that against a side like the Titans, I think they're going to find themselves on a big scoreline. Braden Trindle is out for the Sharkies as well, so they've had to bring in Brayley into the halves, forcing McInnes to go to 9.
So that's sort of a new halves combination once again with Nico.
Yeah, and look, I think the Titans are daring to dream under Des now. Like, they've just got nothing to lose at the moment. They absolutely gave it to the Broncos, and you actually saw a Titans crowd. Like, the stadium was pretty much packed, and you haven't seen that for a long time. So their town is getting behind them. I think they start to believe in what Des is doing up there, and I think they're playing some great football. So I've tipped the Titans in that one.
Yeah, that would be quite an upset for the Sharkies fans. Up next, we've got the Eels, $5.80, hosting Penrith, $1.13. Very short odds once again for the favourite here in being the Premiers, but they haven't beaten the Eels at CommBank since 2019. The Eels obviously up in confidence after that win across the ditch. They certainly look like a very different side to what we've seen in 2024.
Yeah, sometimes all you need is a win to get that confidence back, and they do have a lot of youngsters in their side, the Eels. They always get up for the Battle of the West, so you'd expect that there's going to be some fireworks in this one. But look, I think the Panthers are building nicely for September. They know it's only around the corner, about a month to go, so they are starting to build and head towards that September, and I think they'll get the win in this one. I think the Eels will give it to them pretty early on, but I think the class and the experience will show in the back end of this game, and I think the Panthers will win this one 13+.
All right, next we're heading down the Hume Highway. Raiders at home, GIO Stadium, hosting the Manly Seagulls. Obviously, Josh Papali'i didn't get his 300th game at Belmore last week, but they are going to celebrate it this weekend, so there's extra motivation. They're $2.25. The visitors, Manly, $1.63, and Turbo is the one to look out for. He scored 6 tries in 4 games against the Raiders. Do you expect him to go on with it again?
Yeah, look, they're fresh off the bye, so you'd expect them to be ready to go, and they've got a host of stars coming back in. Lehigh Hopperwhitey's back in from that facial fracture. He moves Tommy Talau to the centres. Ruben Garrick and Jason Sava back from those HIAs that they got in the Roosters game 2 weeks ago. But the big ins are Croker and
Mm.
Holland Watu. Lachlan Croker, I think he's been one of their best players the past 2 years for Manly, and he's a very important cog in that side. So I think it just gives them that stability, and I think Manly will respond off the back of all these players coming back in. Look, I know Canberra are very tough to beat down there, but this is a big game for Manly. They need to win this to stay in the 8. Canberra need to win this to have a finals hope. So it is a huge game, but I think Manly will be too strong in this one.
All right, up next, we're heading, just going to fix that a little bit. We're just heading up next. We're going to head down to this big battle that everyone's been talking about. It's the Dragons taking on the Bulldogs. There was calls for this game to be moved from Kogarah to Allianz Stadium because of the battle between these two clubs. We obviously saw what the Bulldogs did at home up against in front of their home crowd with the Dragons. They had a talk this week after upsetting the top of the table Melbourne Storm. So Dragons $2.06, Dogs $1.75. Is it a flip of a coin, Josh?
Oh, look, I don't think so. I think the Dogs have earned the right to be favourites in this one. But why would you move it when you saw the scenes at Belmore last week? Dragons fans need to do exactly the same thing. You're going to see that hill. That's going to be an awesome hill to be a part of. There's going to be the Dragons army on one side, the Bulldogs army on the other.
Wicked.
And normally, when you get that, you get a great game of footy. So both sides are coming off the back of wins. Obviously, the Dragons had that huge win down in Melbourne. Their confidence will be sky high. But the Doggies, they look very good against Canberra. Both sides have named the same squads as well. But the Dogs are pushing for a top 4 spot as well.
Remarkable.
If they can win this one and the Sharkies lose, well, then they leapfrog them. So, and for the Dragons, they're sitting in 8th and need to win as well. So much riding on this game. I think this is going to be the game of the round. But I just love what the Doggies are doing. There's that belief and that confidence. And the Dragons, whilst they've been good to get the win down in Melbourne, they've been so inconsistent. You tip them 1 week thinking that they're going to be sure things, and then the next week they put in their worst performance. So I think the Doggies, their consistency will get them over the line in this one.
I want to ask the question, Josh, how much of a focus this week after what Stephen Crichton, how he carried that team essentially on the weekend in terms of the way he stepped up and that the leadership role that he's taken on in 2024, how much of a focus this week will the Dragons have on Crichton in shutting down and limiting his impact this weekend?
Oh, look, I think if you shut down just Crichton, there's so many players in this Bulldogs side that you have to worry about. Kickout has been outstanding all year for the Doggies. Josh Addo-Carr's come back in over the weekend and got
Bronson Cherry as well was great too.
Cherry's been outstanding. So his leadership has been great for the Doggies this year. I think he's been the buy of the year. I think he's the captain of the year, and he's the centre of the year. I think he's the best centre in the game by a mile. So they have their work cut out for them this weekend. But as I said, I think the consistency that Dogs have showed and the way that they've played all year, I think they're good things in this one.
All right, rounding out round 23 with the Dolphins, $1.38, Warriors, $3. Obviously, Sean Johnson announced his retirement this week. That's a massive thing for the Warriors heading into this one. But the Dolphins, they've conceded at least 21 points in 9 consecutive games. So how much is Wayne Bennett going to focus on their defense this week coming up against Warriors side?
Well, he's got to. I think the past month of footy, they've leaked way too many points and they've found themselves drop out of the 8. They're in tight position now. The Warriors, we know that their season's over with that loss last week to the Eels. I just think that the Dolphins, that the next month they need to concentrate on that defence. Obviously, they both lost in high-scoring games. For the Dolphins, they welcome back Nick Arima. I think he's been one of their best all year, and Tavita Pangai Jr. comes back into the side. For the Warriors, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck's moved to the centres, and that brings Edward Cozzy onto the wing. Look, I think the Sean Johnson retirement is huge for the club. Hopefully the players respond by trying to send him out a winner in this past month of footy. But I just think travelling away to Suncorp and the fact that the Dolphins still have they're in finals contention, I think that will get them the win.
All right, there you have it, round 23. There's a couple other games that we need to go through as well, which we haven't touched on, which I need to quickly find. Which games I haven't even got them written down. I've been focusing on the other ones.
We've got the Cowboys and the Broncos. So
why don't you ask me for my tips?
Yes. Who are you going to tip in the Cowboys and Broncos, Eloise, this week?
I'm going to tip the Broncos to come out with a big response after all the negative that's been going on around their headlines up at Red Hill and the injury form. Despite they've got a couple of players under the injury cloud, I'm going to back the Broncos in this one.
Well, I'm going against you in that one. I've got the Cowboys and the Knights versus the Tigers to round out the week. Who are you tipping in that one?
Knights too strong. I think the West Tigers, they've got looking at the round 20. They're looking at season 2025 already. I think 2024 is in the rearview mirror. Do you agree with me?
Yes, I'm tipping the Knights as well.
Great. There you go. Round 23 wrapped up. My little bit of input in there as well. Josh, we'll see you next week. Enjoy your footy.
Always a pleasure.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.